Hello and welcome to Chapter 9, Creating Revenue Models from the Entrepreneurship, the Practice and Mindset 2nd edition textbook. In this chapter, we're going to talk about the various different revenue models. When you start a business or when you have a business, you have to have some form of a revenue model, whether it's a for-profit company or a non-profit company or a social venture. Whatever it may be, in order to maintain business, in order to maintain the organization, you have to have a form of revenue model or revenue models. No company, no organization is going to stay relevant or be open without any type of revenue. Even universities and K-12 institutions, churches, synagogues, whatever it may be, need some form of revenue to maintain doors open. So, what is a revenue model? A revenue is, of course, income gained from sales. That's what revenue is. A revenue model, of course, identifies how the company will earn and generate profits. So, when you think about your business, when you think about your startup, whatever it may be, you have to think about what type of revenue model or models I can have that's going to generate profits for the company. Because that's going to of course, maintain what's going to determination of keeping your doors open. There are a number of different types of revenue models, and we're going to go over the main ones so you can think about which revenue model or models you want to implement in your company. It's always best to have more than one type of revenue model in your company. Of course, one's probably going to generate more than the other, but you want to have at least more than one revenue model. It's like you don't want to put your all eggs in one basket. Same thing with revenue. You want to have at least one, or maybe want to have more than one revenue model associated with your company. And some companies operate on one primary revenue model, and of course others on a combination of models. It's just how you want to do it. So I suggest have always more than one primary revenue model. So the first one is unit sales revenue model. This one measures the amount of revenue generated by the number of items sold. So you think about any typical retail business, right? You walk into Walmart or any other major retail company or some small mom and pop shop, right? They have these products up for sale, tangible products you can buy. So however much of those units they sell on that day or the month or whatever it may be, that's how much revenue they're going to partake, right? So, of course, it's just directly from the consumer. So how much is the consumer buying directly from your company or your business? Like, again, physical goods or intangible goods like digital products. So that's really what it is. So this one is, a typical one. Sometimes, though, you're really going by the razor-thin margin. Companies like Walmart, you would think that they would generate a lot. I mean, it's a multi-billion-dollar company, but a lot of times they're just barely getting enough revenue from the products they sell in the stores. Another type of revenue model is the advertising revenue model. Of course, that's the amount of revenue gained through advertising products and services. So when you talk about advertising, you've seen it on websites, for example. They're promoting a specific product or service. When you go to major internet sites like CNN or Fox or other types of news sources, you see them having advertisement there. Of course, but how many clicks they get, they'll get some form of revenue, right? So that's really where it depends with the revenue model there in advertising. The data revenue model, it is used when they generate revenue by selling high exclusive valuable information to other parties. Some major retailers that sell data is Facebook, Google. So these companies, generate all that quality information. They sell it to third parties. That's why Facebook is probably one of the most well-known companies who does this. So whatever you put in Facebook, it aggregates that data and it sells it to third-party consumers, because that's one of the major revenue models that Facebook has. This data revenue, and of course advertising is another one revenue model. So Google is a big one too. So It's it's funny how whenever you type something into Google, all of a sudden you start seeing advertising for the product or service or something that you typed into Google. You start seeing it because it's selling that information to third parties. Intermediation revenue model. This one's unique. It describes the different ways how third parties can generate revenue. It's basically the broker. So people who organize a transaction between buyer and seller. For example, Vanguard, which is a financial company, would have this intermediation revenue model, right? If you open an account with Vanguard and you want to buy stocks, right? They act as a broker. They act as a person in between you and purchasing a particular stock. So of course you would, have deposit money into the account, and then of course you say, hey, I want to buy these stocks, whatever it may be, and Vanguard's going to act like the broker, and they're going to want to take a certain percentage cut. So they're acting like the intermediary, the broker in between you, between the buyer and seller, so that they make sure that they get it. For example, like cars, when you purchase a car, you just you don't directly go to a Toyota factory and be like, I'm going to buy this car, right? You have to go to a dealership, and that dealership acts as the broker, is the broker between you and purchasing that car. So that's one. Licensing revenue model. So it gives permission to other parties to use protected intellectual property. So a lot of times, that's why like companies like Disney and others are very protective of the intellectual property. If you want to use, for example, like Disney logos or Disney characters on a particular product of yours, you have to go get a license to do that, because you're going to have to pay a certain percentage, or however Disney does it, you're going to have to pay a cut from it. So that's you're gonna have to, it's a licensed revenue model, or else you'll get in big trouble. So you just can't get, you have to get permission from that party. So licensing frequently takes place in the technology industry, so that's where it usually happens, but also in other non-technology industry. For example, like universities too, like big institutions. The major ones like Notre Dame or Ohio State or whatever it may be, they'll license their logo to companies who want to print T-shirts or sweaters or whatever it may be. They just have to pay a licensing fee for that. Franchising revenue model describes how the owner of an existing business sells the rights to another party to trade under the name of their business. So famous franchise companies, McDonald's, Burger King, 7-Eleven, various other companies that you can franchise, right? You can be a franchisee. You just have to, of course, the franchisor helps the franchisee, providing support, the marketing, the operations, the financing to put up the storefront. And of course, you would have to pay an annual fee, or however their fees go, and you have to follow their guidelines. So that's another way. So you can create a business and then franchise it if you wanted to. So that's another way of making money. Subscription model, that of course has evolved, charging customers to gain continuous access to our product or service. So think Netflix, right? That's a subscription revenue model, right? You pay a monthly fee to access Netflix. Hulu, right? You pay a monthly service to access Hulu. Max or HBO, wherever they want to go, right? That's a subscription revenue model. Sometimes they charge you by the month, others charge you by the year, depending on it. There's other ones too. There's other subscription-based models in the tech field or in the media, magazines, right? So a subscription-based model. A growing number of startup companies are starting to use the subscription revenue model. It's one of the most consistent revenue models once you build that into your company, because once you have a good quality subscription revenue model, you know how much you're going to get each month or each year. It's usually best to have a yearly subscription. That way you know how much money is coming in instead of monthly subscription, because every month it could change depending on how many people subscribe or unsubscribe. So if you're gonna do this subscription revenue model, aim towards having an annual subscription rather than a monthly subscription. Professional revenue model, right, provides professional services on time, on a time and a materials contract. So think consultants, lawyers, construction workers, accountants, charging by the hour for their services. Utility and usage. So this is so think like the electric companies, right? If you own a home or even if you rent, right, you have an electric bill, which usually is not included in your rent, right? The utility company is charging you for the usage of the electricity. So you're getting charged for that, and water as well. Sometimes it's not even covered in rent, so you're gonna have to pay for that water or gas. So that you're going to be charged for that. So how much usage are you doing? Mobile phone carriers, for example, charges users a fee for the number of minutes. Well, they used to, a lot of times used to do it by that, but some, depending on your company or the type of plan, you'll get charged per the minute. But just think utility and usage, a lot of the water companies, electricity companies, that's, the time, however you use it, you get charged a fee. And the freemium revenue model. This involves mixing free basic services with premium upgraded services. So you ever heard of Dropbox, right? Dropbox.com. That's a really famous freemium revenue model, right? You can open up a free account and you have like maybe 2 or 3 gigabytes or whatever it may be for free. But if you want more space, you're gonna have to buy it. So there is that freemium model. That's just one example. Like if you have a Gmail account, you have Google Drive, you'll get a certain amount of free space. But if you want to pay more, if you want more space, you're gonna have to pay a bit more. So of course they have this service. So the reason why companies do this service is because if they have like 100,000 people that do it for free, they may get like maybe 10,000 people or so that pay for the service. They know that the majority of people will do it for free, but there will be a certain segment of that will actually pay for that service. The company gives away the low-end version of the service for free with the antagonization that you're going to pay for the high-end version of it later on down the road or sooner. You can generate revenue from free, right? Offer a product or service at a zero cost. Skype was one of those, before, Zoom, Skype used to be the thing. So Skype used to offer a freemium model. And then, of course, if you wanted more functionalities, you would get charged if, pay for it. Direct cross subsidies, pricing a product or service above its market value. So cell phone companies lose money by giving away the phone handsets for free. But of course, they charge you a monthly service fee. Now, of course, cell phone companies, depending on the phone you're getting, they'll let you get the phone on a monthly subscription. Like, hey, pay it off monthly. But most of the times, hey, we'll give you this phone. We'll lose money on the phone, but we're gonna recuperate that money because we've locked you into a contract for, let's say, 2 years, and you have to pay this money because of the contract. So they're gonna recuperate their losses from giving away the phone by keeping you in this contract. And you paying a monthly service for it. Multi-party markets. It is a free model that involves giving a product or service to one party for free, right? It's the ad-supported free concept. Of course, the challenge is to prevent costly overuse. Multi-party markets. Here's some examples. Give away scientific articles, charge artists to publish them. Give away document readers, sell document writers. So for example, Adobe is really good for this. So you can get the Adobe Reader for free, but then if you want to get more product or service from the Adobe Reader, you have to pay for it. Zillow, give away house listings, sell the mortgage. LinkedIn, give away resume listings for charge for power search. LinkedIn is really good at that. Like, you can go and look for free stuff, but if you want someone to help you with your resume, then of course, here you go, right? You charge for that service. Revenue and cost drivers. Revenue models influence who your customers are and who you're reaching them. One of the important aspects that you have to remember about a revenue model is that depending on how much you're charging, it's going to depend on who you're attracting. If your prices are low, you're going to attract a certain market segment. If you charge high prices, what that goes along with the service you're providing, it's going to, attract a certain market. For example, the Rolex, right? You go to a Rolex store, usually most of the time it's not extremely packed, right? There may be a few people there, but you go to a different, low end jewelry store, there's going to be a lot of people there. So it kind of depends on who you're trying to influence. Are you trying to influence the person who's going to pay $20,000 for a watch? That's probably going to get it. You're probably going to get maybe 2 or 3 people a week or a day buying that, or you're going to want to attract people who are willing to pay like $20 for a watch, and you're going to need like 100 people to come each day in your store to make revenue. So again, depending on how you structure your revenue and what you're trying to make, it's going to see what type of customers you're attracting. Revenue drivers, more factors than just buying or selling need to be taken into consideration. The first key revenue driver is customers, the frequency, the selling process, the price. So again, how much is your customer willing to buy it? How much is your customer willing to purchase, right? The frequency, and of course the selling process and the price. 2 different types of costs should be taken into consideration: cost of goods sold and operating expenses. The cost of goods sold occur when a sale takes place. So how much does it cost you to sell this good? And what's your operating expenses, right? So what's the cost of running your company, right? So how much if you have a storefront, right, how much does it cost to operate that storefront? Even if you have a 100% online business, you still got to pay for something, right? The electric bill, the internet, something. So how much does it cost to operate your business? Income statement, report that measures the financial performance of your business. So subtract the cost of goods sold and expenses from the total revenue. Reflects depreciation and amortization of your company's assets. Income statement also includes operating profit, so amount left over from the revenue, interest expense, good indicator of the company's debt. Net income, what is left after all the costs, expenses, and taxes have been paid. So, when someone says what's the income, you have to think about the net income, which is what you're going to get after you paid all your costs. So all your costs and expenses could be, the building, the employees, all that kind of stuff. So how much money am I left over with? So when you hear like gross income, that's just all the money combined, that's all the money before expenses. And net income is, of course, after all the expenses have been paid. So one of the things too about net income, don't forget to pay yourself as a business owner. Some people forget about that. Pay yourself as well. Don't forget about that. Startup entrepreneurs struggle with how much to charge for products or services. The key is to sustain a new business to create consistent revenue streams. Don't be afraid to charge for what you believe your product or service is worth. It's better to start pricing high and then maybe make some adjustments and go down than it is to price low and then go high. It's very difficult if you place your product at a low price and start continuously go up or go high. It's very hard to maintain that customer base instead of going high and then drastically going down a little bit. So it'll be harder to maintain those clienteles. Pricing products and services, no right way to determine pricing strategies. Of course, adjust as per demand. So if you remember, right, during the COVID times and high demand, right, there were some products that were just, the price just skyrocketed. But after COVID, those prices dropped. Like, for example, If you remember the mask, the N90 mask and other masks, I mean, like those were high in demand. It was hard to get at times, and the prices were pretty high. Now masks, you get it from dirt cheap. So of course, the positioning of brand or product or service will affect how much it sells. Think of 3 to 5 words to describe your business. Right, carry the theme throughout your packaging and website. Other ways, there are many different pricing strategies, competition-led pricing. Right, one of the things you don't one of the things about your competition is look at what your competitors are charging. Charge similar or a little bit different. Never compete on the product, always compete on service. People will pay for the service. As long as if the price is good, if the service is good, they'll pay for it. Don't compete on price. Just because someone sells it at $10, don't sell it at $5 and cheat yourself out of a profit. Ask customers, how much are you willing to pay for this product or service? Offer a product or service at a below cost price. That way you get other people in the door. Introductory offer. I encourage people to try a new product by offering it for free or a certain reduced amount. There's sometimes some software that says, hey, we're going to give you an introductory offer for the first month or the first year. You'll pay $20, but after that, you'll pay the normal price. Skimming, right? Psychological price. Encourage customers to buy based on the belief. Fair pricing by both businesses and customers believe that the pricing is reasonable. And of course, bundle pricing, packaging a set of goods or services together. So it's another way. Calculate prices that will help you decide which one is the best for your business. Of course, don't forget about the break-even analysis. And the break-even analysis is after all your costs, how much will it cost you? How many units do you need to sell in order to break even from all the costs that have been factored into making this particular product or service? Cost-led pricing involves calculating all the costs involved in manufacturing or delivering the product or service. Target return involves setting your price based on the amount of investment. Value-based, of course, involves pricing your product based on how it benefits the customer. So that is, in a nutshell, different types of revenue models. And I'll leave you with this at the end. Always have more than one revenue model associated with your business. 2, 3 are pretty good to have revenue models. In case one falls a little short, you still have something else. But never rely just solely on one type of revenue model. Always have more than one. Thank you.